Welcome back, Troglodytes, to another episode of Trogly's Guitars. Today we have a beautiful Tobacco Sunburst custom from one of my favorite years of Gibson, 1994. 94 was the 100th anniversary year for Gibson. They had very special Les Pauls and other ones come out that year. They had, I think it was a diamond for the eye in the Gibson logo, but that was part of a limited edition series. I think they made like 100 or so of each. This is not one of those. This is just a regular custom of the era, but check out this beautiful finish here. It's kind of got a slightly active top here, as you can see. I mean, I wouldn't call it flame, but it's definitely an interesting wood grain pattern there. And the back is definitely very characteristic of the 90s. They didn't burst the back. They just had a dark neck heel. It's not a heel repair or anything. Why they chose to do that, I don't know, but they just did. But you're back to traditional specs, so everything's mahogany except for the maple top. You got your ebony fretboard. I mean, these are just really nice classic customs. This one's in pretty good shape. They've got just a little bit of wear we need to go over. Bridge and tailpiece are replaced parts. When I got it, I think it was a made in Japan bridge and a Germany tailpiece. So I restored it with late 80s Gibson parts, so almost era correct. So you have your made in Germany bridge, which is how it's supposed to be, and a regular tailpiece here. The only other thing here, you have restored strap buttons. It initially had some type of strap lock on it. I just restored it back to the original buttons that were in the case. But everything else about this guitar is stock. You have your Gibson USA pickups. It's just a really good looking custom. Take a look at the headstock here. You can see you've got that very characteristic 90s look to it. The Gibson logo is very block-ish in pattern. It's not, you know, rounded or caving in on itself like the prehistoric logo. And the finish really hasn't aged too much on this one. It's very nice and white yet. We'll run the light over it here and you can see very minimal string change wear. I mean, this guitar really is in good shape. Truss rod works and all that. Les Paul custom truss rod cover, gold Grover tuners. I will say that the Grover tuners do show some light tarnishing to them. There does appear to be a very small line of glue that probably stemmed from when the nut was put on. Very minor, but it is there and I want you to know about it. That is original, and the ebony fretboard and frets were just cleaned and oiled, so they are good to go here. No playability issues on this one. I will say you might want to set it up to your own standards. Action's very nice and low, but there is a little bit of light fret buzz. I mean, nothing a typical setup wouldn't take care of though. Neck profile on this one, I would consider it a 60s, kind of 60s medium. It's almost kind of like that rounded 59 shape. I mean, I don't think it's quite to that territory yet, but it's close. But that's kind of what Gibson did for most of their guitars in the 90s. Onto the body here. Beautiful two-piece top. I mean, you can see that center seam there pretty readily. But it's got, you know, just some nice wavy pattern to it. I mean, it's not really flame, but I've never really found a good word for this. I mean, you can see what it does. It kind of changes color in different angles of light. So it's like flame, but without the lines, or quilt without the curliness. I mean, it's a very sweet plain top custom here. Gibson USA pickups as they should be. Once again, restored to kind of era correct parts here. Original knobs, everything's working good there. I mean, you've got some very light wear and tear here. We'll run the light over it. Just, you know, light playing scratches. I mean, this was definitely a well cared for custom. There's really only one spot on this guitar that we really need to take a lot of attention to. But the top, I mean, it's just a very lightly played guitar. Back of the headstock here, serial number 94018300, made in USA. And it never fails whenever I get a 1994 Les Paul in. Somebody messages me. They're either nice or they're snooty about it. One is, you call yourself a guitar dealer? That's clearly a 1998 Gibson Les Paul. And that's when I have to tell them, okay, what's the 401st day of the year? And that's when they go, oh, well then your guitar must be fake. No. 1994, this is kind of the first year that they did this. They've started doing it, I think 2017 is like this, I think 16 as well, where it's the first two digits stand for the year on this one, and I don't think the other ones have any pertaining numbers to them or anything, which is kind of unfortunate for me because I was born in '94, so this is a birth year guitar for me, but I will never be able to find a birth year, birthday guitar because they decided to do this weird type of serialization. So it is a 1994, not a 1998, but made in USA, still your mahogany neck. It looks like it's a single piece mahogany with the two pieces of the wings here. Once again, golden grovers. And the one thing we got to note here is right here. I'm guessing this was leaning on a stand for a long time and the finish kind of melted to the stand, or it's kind of like, you know, that stand rash. The owner said it kind of just chipped off. So there is a little bit of a bare spot right here where the lacquer is not apparent anymore. It's kind of just chipped off at some point in time. Now it's not brittle. It's not going to continue to keep chipping off. You could probably get any, you know, typical luthier could easily drop fill that for you, but I don't know if I would do that or not. I mean, if you can do it yourself and just cover it up so you don't have to worry about it, that might be worthwhile, but nothing needs to be done. But overall, beautiful piece of mahogany. It's kind of got some of that flame to it as well, but nothing too extreme. So if you can live with that, this guitar is really clean. You know, we'll take a look at the back here. You've got some very minor scratches from belt buckles and whatnot, but it's just a clean guitar. This is exactly the kind of guitars that I like. They just have light, honest play wear on them. Nothing too extreme and not too clean that you don't want to play it. It's clean enough that you can say, hey, I respect my guitars when I play them. But beautiful, you know, wood on the back here as well. You can see it as I move it in the light. Beautiful active back there. Now along the sides here, you can see some light wear and tear, especially over here where it rests against your leg. There's some scratches in that area. Mainly kind of right here. But overall, once again, nothing too bad. It's just a really gorgeous custom, and you don't find too many 1994s out there. I think it's kind of cool to own a 100th anniversary year, because let's face it, the true 100th anniversary series, they're too expensive. They were about 10 grand new. Some of them can still fetch their original price, but if you're unlucky enough to buy like one of the double cut standards or something, yeah, unfortunately those, they're still not quite getting there. The only thing besides the setup I might suggest is, since this bridge was just replaced, you might want to take this to your luthier and either put some new saddles on or notch them a little bit differently. Because you can see the strings don't quite line up with the pole pieces of the pickups. They need to be just a slight hair a little bit over. I mean, it might give you a little bit better output if you do that, but honestly it plays just fine as is, but I do want to be honest about that. So overall, 1994 Les Paul Custom. No, it's not a 70s custom. No, it's not an 80s custom. But 90s customs really truly are magnificent. They're not the same, once again, as the 70s or 80s custom. Those ones kind of have more of a vintage feel, whereas these are a little bit more modern feeling. But they call the 90s era the good wood era for a reason. They have really nice wood on these guitars. So they do sound good. They're usually not too heavy. And usually you can find some really nice tops. I mean, this one's a beautiful plain top. If you hate flame and all that, this is a beautiful plain top. But if you love flame, I would definitely suggest checking out a Les Paul Custom Plus, because the 90s is birth to really flamey customs out there. So overall, I mean, these 90s customs, I definitely suggest you check one out. Take a look under blacklight here. Everything's good on the front of the headstock. And everything's looking good on the body as well. A nice even glow here, and no major nicks or dings to really show off. Under blacklight here, it looks like a little bit of lacquer might have gotten on the fretboard in that area and a little bit down there. Kind of very minor, but there is those two small spots that do blacklight. Back of the headstock, once again, everything's good on this one. No breaks, cracks, or repairs, or touch-ups or anything. I don't know about you guys, but I've been having terrible luck lately with people not disclosing repairs. It was nice to get this one that didn't have any major issues with it. So once again here you do have that small area of chipped off finish. It looks like there's a very small area too right there. Once again, I guess it's a stand that kind of did that and weakened the finish. It's not brittle or anything. It's not gonna continue to spread unless you pick at it, that is. Back of the guitar, great shape. You can see some very light indentations. I think those are just little dust mites right there. But everything else, I mean, this guitar is great. I don't know how many times I can say that. But it's really nice finding a clean 90s custom, because these things are fantastic players and usually they show a lot more wear. You can see a small ding right there. Take a look at that area under normal lighting. It looks like a very small impression of some nature right there. I mean, in most lighting situations, you won't even see it. This one weighs 9 pounds, 11.9 ounces. And that's kind of really where you want a Les Paul Custom, because anything too far under 10, you're like, well, this isn't quite the feel of a custom. So this one, you know, it's just at that right spot, around a 9.5. This custom does come with its original case. This is a kind of the second generation of the Gibson USA case. The early ones had a big pink blanket that was a lot thicker than this. This is the more popular thin shroud. I mean, this is the exact same case that they kind of still use today. Obviously, they've made a few changes, but this is how they looked in the 90s. I mean, this one's in great shape. I mean, you've got some very light storage wear. I mean, you can see some small marks, but nothing really too major or anything like that. Combo lock hasn't been set at all. All latches function. Got 3, 4, 5 of them, and then you also have the 6th locking latch. Inside is a beautiful kind of pink magenta-ish color. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. The only guitar I've ever sent that got damaged was in one of these cases, and I swear it's because of that. It was pushing down on the headstock. The combo lock instructions manual, as well as the Gibson checklist pack list here. The cleans will be running through a Gibson Super Gold Tone GA30RV. The dirty tones come from a Marshall JMP 1C. You might be interested in owning this 1994 100th anniversary year Gibson Les Paul Custom, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Trogoys, or you can check out the eBay or Reverb listings. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.